Hi, Tom Trento here on the border of Israel, Lebanon, Mizgavam Kibbutz, and I got a few guests here. Tom Homan, welcome to Israel. Sara, Victor, Avila, how you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
We just sat through about an hour briefing by an IDF reserve colonel who explained the land behind us. That fence right there is the border between Israel and Lebanon. Sara, your thoughts after listening to the colonel talking to us?
Well, to me, it's extraordinary how Israel's been able to maintain border security, and because they put so much emphasis on their national security and protecting their nation and the people of their nation, that even though they are surrounded at this particular kibbutz by Lebanon, and we know Hezbollah is right there watching us right now as we're talking. We know they have the ability to hold Hezbollah off. And even if Hezbollah attempts an attack, in which they have in the last few months, backed by Iran, we know that the nation state of Israel will do everything it can to prevent Hezbollah from moving further and encroaching on this sovereign territory. And I think what struck me the most is how little emphasis we put on our own nation's national security as we're watching right now our southern border, and how many lessons we need to learn from our Israeli friends about protecting our own land the way they are protecting theirs.
Yeah, Tom, you spent your life on the border. You were in a position with President Trump to secure the border. Just listen to that briefing on the border. What are your initial thoughts?
It just reiterated why I wake up every day pissed off at the current administration, how they took the most secure border in my lifetime and unsecured it. You know, I listened to the president of Israel, how, you know, we talked afterwards, they want more border wall, they want more security. They want to protect the citizens of the country. We're currently in administration who doesn't give a shit about border security, right? Because they came in office, first president in history of this nation, President Biden, came in office and unsecured the border. We got over 100,000 dead Americans in fentanyl overdoses, right? We got a record number of known suspected terrorists who have been arrested, right? With 1.8 million known gotaways, how many of them known suspected terrorists? So it just reiterates my anger every day what this administration did to the most secure border we ever had, and that it just convinces me every day that I made the right decision. When I promised President Trump, he comes back, I come back, and we'll finish what we started.
There we go, finish what we started. Victor, you were sitting there also, and I heard the briefer say the people trying to come in and immigrate and say, I want to be in Israel, I want to be in Israel. Basically, Hezbollah is setting them up as spies. You've been on the border all your life. Your thoughts?
Well, what caught my attention is not just Lebanon, but also Syria is right here next to us.
Right over there, yeah.
They get a lot of those refugees, but they don't understand or might not know the intentions of these refugees initially and the recruitment that Hezbollah does to bring this. But I caught something that he said in the briefing that I thought was very, very important, is the activity that was not existent during the Trump administration, and he said it was so quiet. All of a sudden, the Biden administration takes over, and they start seeing
the machinery starts up,
the noise starts happening. And why? Because they're not afraid of us. Because they know that we're not going to do anything, that we're not even defending our borders. Then what's going to happen with our friends in Israel? This is what we have to continue to pay attention. This is why we do what we do, to bring the attention to the people that not just in our southern border, but the effects of the rest of the world that comes down through there.
Sara, did you hear the briefer talk about the Hezbollah tunnels that they're digging?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, I spent 20 years covering the U.S.-Mexico border, and I remember the very first time that I encountered one of those tunnels, and it was coming from Tijuana into the Tijuana estuary in San Diego. And it was, I remember Senator Dianne Feinstein showed up, you know, all of the lawmakers, and they were looking at this sophisticated tunnel. It was not just the only one. The thing is, the cartels have amassed hundreds of billions of dollars. They're out resourcing our guys. I know this is something that, Tom, when you were with ICE, and not only that, when you go down to the border and you talk to law enforcement officials, it's probably the same thing, where law enforcement officials feel like their hands are tied behind their backs. They feel like they don't have the resources they need to uncover maybe even some of these tunnels or some of the networking systems that the cartels and the human traffickers have. And we could hear, and I think that struck me, it was very interesting. You didn't want to go into too much detail.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technology, a lot of secrecy, a lot of they don't want to give away any of the information to the enemy. They don't want the enemy to know what they know. But we have tunnels as well in our country, and we know that the Israelis are watching and carefully monitoring what's happening at their border. The sad thing is what Tom said is true, and exactly what you were saying, Victor, that we have not given the resources that are necessary. We are allowing our country to be overrun. And I'm going to tell you this, Tom, it's not a cliche. It's not a matter of if we're going to get hit. It's a matter of when. Something is going to happen in our nation, and it's going to be because of the failure of our government to protect its citizens at the southern border. And that is shameful.
Well, you're exactly right, because like I was saying, with 1.8 million gotaways, known gotaways, caught on video, or drone traffic or sensor traffic, we know they came in the country, weren't arrested, weren't vetted, whatever. Many of those countries, of the 171 countries Border Patrol's arrested people from, are sponsors to terror, right? So if they've arrested 217 as of last week, obviously they're morons, because terrorists don't want to get arrested. They're trained how to invade law enforcement. But with 1.8 million gotaways, 171 countries, some of those countries are sponsored terrorism. We don't think a single one came to the United States to blow something up and do us harm. You're foolish. I've said it many times. I don't know how many terrorists have crossed our border since Biden's been the president, but someday we'll find out. It's going to be a bad day for America. And as far as what Sara says, she's exactly right. The men and women on the border standing on the line, they know how to secure the border. They've done it. And this administration knows how to secure the border. All they could do is dust off the Trump doctrine that we work so hard on, and they could put the Remain in Mexico program in tomorrow, and they'd solve 85% of the problem. But they simply don't want to do it. Not only do they open the borders up, they crippled ICE, Interior Immigration Enforcement, so they let millions in, and they cripple ICE, the agency that's in charge of arresting and deporting those who are here illegally. They cripple them. So it's not just opening border, it's destroying the agency that's in charge of finding, detaining, arresting, and removing. Destroy them. They don't want them to go home. They think they're future Democratic voters, but more than that, the Biden administration, when he signed 90 executive orders destroying everything we created, he also overturned the Trump census rule, which means millions of people now will be counted in the next census in sanctuary cities. So when they reproportionate seats in the House, it means more seats in the House for Democrats. They sold this country out for a future political benefit in their minds.